Hello and welcome back to the Brandon Mulholland podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about a book by Ray Dalio called Principles. Principles is a book that explores Dalio's unique approach to life and work based on a set of principles he developed throughout his career as a successful investor and entrepreneur. The book outlines his belief in radical transparency, thoughtful disagreement, and the importance of embracing failure as a learning opportunity. It emphasizes the value of having clear, well defined principles to guide decision making and achieve personal and professional success. Um, I read this book I think I read it last year, and I will admit it is a bit of a challenging book. It is like about 550 odd pages, but I actually would recommend it because it is kind of easy to read. Like the language is kind of simple. The font is not that big, so it's not really like sore in your eyes. Or it's like kind of graphical as well. There's a few kind of like bar charts and kind of images that kind of breaks the book up nicely. And it's like using like headers. Like each chapter is like maybe like 5 to 10 pages. It's not really something that's gonna like kind of bore on and bore on and bore on. But yeah, this book is basically split into three parts. And Ray Dalio is one of like he owned the most expensive hedge fund in the world, the Bridgewater Associates, and ever since like he talks about kind of three kind of sections, like where one he talks about is like life principles, kind of where he came from, like all his kind of introductory to how he became who he was, and he also then talks about kind of his work principles and his like kind of like life lessons that he's learned. So yeah, um, part one of this kind of book, Principles, it kind of lays, so it talks about like his unconventional education. So he kind of lays the foundation for his entire philosophy by exploring his personal journey and the experience that shaped his approach to success. And with a short breakdown, he goes from he basically starts working in Wall Street. So his early life wasn't really a typical path to Wall Street. Like he discusses his father, who was a jazz musician, and his dad or father instilled in him the value of independent thinking, creative expression, and questioning assumptions. And this, like the lessons that his father taught Ray Dalio is what would become the cornerstone of his approach to life and business. And Ray Dalio also, he really enjoyed and had a curiosity for a love of or for automation and markets. So this like natural curiosity like led him to explore things like how things worked, and like the including automation, and include eventually he would lead to the intricacies of the financial markets. And he discusses as well like a steep curve of learning through mistakes. So his early years on Wall Street were like a bit of a roller coaster of successes and failures. These like experiences highlighted the importance of kind of embracing reality, like not wishing it away. So basically, what this means is like kind of ignoring your problems won't make them disappear. You need to kind of confront them head on to make kind of the best decision you can. He highlights learning from mistakes, so analyzing like failures to understand what went wrong. Like he also mentions like don't be afraid to admit mistakes and see them as learning opportunities. And adaptability, he also brings up in the introduction of the book, and he explains the market is dynamic and developing like the ability to learn and adapt to changing circumstances is crucial for long-term success. And this is where he kind of finds his company Bridgewater Associates. If you looked up on LinkedIn you'd probably see a few jobs for it, but it's a very well known company. um so basically he was frustrated with the lack of open communication and culture that like discouraged learning from mistakes at his previous firm. So he decided to find Bridgewater Associates, the hedge fund, and from the beginning he emphasized that transparency is number one. So he basically says that honest and open communication, even when uncomfortable, is essential. Sharing information and diverse perspectives leads to better decisions. And he discusses that the best idea wins regardless of who comes up with it. This fosters a culture of learning and initiative or innovation where everyone feels like their voice can be heard. So he discusses a springboard for core principles, and through his early experiences, he began to develop core principles that would guide him throughout his life and his career. And here's like a deeper look into this would be He highlights that it emphasizes that success isn't about inherent talent, and Dalio highlights the importance of continuous learning, adaptation, and a willingness to confront reality. He also showcases the power of questioning assumptions. So his unconventional background led him to see things differently, which ultimately fueled his innovative approach to business. And it also lays the groundwork for the principles explored in the later sections. So understanding his journey helps you connect the dots between his experience and the principles he's developed. And then when you go, that's kind of his introduction to his kind of life. But then for part two, then he'll go into his life principles in depth. So part two of this book is like the heart and soul of his philosophy. So here is kind of like a detailed breakdown of kind of what I took from it, like the basic takeaways, and diving into the nuances of his life principles. So the first part, when you notice of part two, is he will talk about this thing called the bedrock, where he emphasizes a concept called radical truth and radical transparency, and this basically means that when you confront reality head on, um, basically ignoring your problems and sugarcoating situations hinders effective decision making, and honest assessment, even when unpleasant, is crucial. And he also promotes open communication even when uncomfortable. So sharing information freely, even if it challenges the status quo, leads to better solutions. And transparency fosters trust and encourages diverse perspectives. And he then follows on from the bedrock, so he's kind of like going from the bottom to the top, so he's kind of building from the ground up. So he discusses about kind of how to understand yourself, a journey of self-discovery. So self-awareness is like basically the cornerstone of Dalio's philosophy. So he talks about identifying your strengths and weaknesses. Like knowing your strengths allows you to leverage your talents, and recognizing your weaknesses helps you find ways to overcome limits or limitations. And the power of feedback is where he advocates for idea mediocrity. So where the best idea wins regardless of who comes up with it. And this requires being open to feedback and acknowledging your own blind spots. And the last kind of point he touches on the journey of self-discovery is psychological safety. So he's discussing where people need to create an environment where they feel safe in admitting mistakes and offering honest feedback, where because this is like essential for self-discovery and growth. And then in part two, then he's still talking about kind of like the life principles that he's learned. So he goes on to this 5-step process, this is like basically like the blueprint to getting what you want. So his framework for achieving goals is these 5 different steps. So number 1 is having clear goals, where you define your desired outcomes with specifics. So vague aspirations are difficult to achieve. And number 2 is identifying problems. So he analyzes the obstacles that stand in the way of achieving your goals. Number 3 is diagnosing the root causes. So don't like just identify the problems, understand the underlying reasons why they exist. Number 4 is designing solutions. So develop effective strategies to overcome the obstacles you've identified. And number 5, he highlights monitoring progress and making adjustments. So track your progress regularly and adapt your approach as needed. Basically, be flexible and willing to learn from experience. Then after the 5-step process, he talks about relationships and conflict resolution. So Dalio goes beyond providing techniques for building strong relationships and resolving conflict, and he provides a deeper message, which is the importance of empathy. So understanding and acknowledging the other person's perspective is crucial for building trust and fostering healthy relationships. He also mentions win-win solutions, so seek solutions that benefit everyone involved in a conflict. This fosters collaboration and creates a more positive environment. And he also highlights emotional intelligence, so understanding and managing your own emotions, as well as recognizing the emotions of others, is essential for effective communication and conflict resolution. And in the last part, he discusses finding purpose. So success, according to Dalio, isn't just about achieving external goals. It's about finding meaning and purpose in your life. And his principles can help by, he suggests kind of finding work that you love doing. So doing work that aligns to your values and interests, which brings a sense of fulfillment and purpose. He also suggests that you never stop learning and growing as a person, so continuous learning, as this will keep life interesting and allow you to contribute more to the world and making a positive impact, where he suggests to strive to contribute to something bigger than yourself, whether it's through work, relationships, or community involvement. Making a positive difference brings a sense of purpose. So basically, his life kind of lessons, it provides a foundation for lifelong personal growth and development. So by understanding and applying these principles, Ray Dalio believes that you can achieve greater success and satisfaction in all these areas. And then part three then is he discusses his work principles in depth. So part three takes his philosophy from the realm of personal growth and applies it to the world of work. And here's like a detailed breakdown of like, what goes beyond the basic takeaways and diving into nuances of his work principles. So he starts off with from life to work, bridging the gap. So Dalio argues that the same principles that govern personal success can be applied to create a thriving working environment. So to have a closer look at this connection, he suggests universal principles where the principle of honest communication, self-awareness and embracing reality translate from personal life to the professional sphere. And building on part two, building on his life lessons, so the principles explored in the life lessons, the 5-step process, provides a foundation for effective decision making and problem solving in the workplace. And following on from this, then he talks about building the ideal team environment. So beyond buzzwords, like creating a space where people feel comfortable is crucial for success in his eyes. And what he emphasizes is just psychological safety. So employees need to feel safe admitting their mistakes, offering for honest feedback and taking ownership without fear of punishment. Radical transparency in action. So open communication and information sharing are encouraged at all levels, as this fosters trust, collaboration and a culture of learning. And evolutionary evaluation. So he emphasizes, like his company Bridgewater Associates emphasizes constant evaluation, adaptation based on results. Basically why this is used is because this isn't about micromanaging, it's about the company strives for continuous improvement. And evolutionary evaluation and continuous learning, this is basically a cycle, not a goal. So no organization is perfect. Like a deeper kind of like Dalio basically talks about data driven decisions. So decisions are based on factual data and feedback, not just opinions and emotions. There's also kind of suggestion to have regular reviews and refinement. So processes are regularly reviewed to identify areas of improvement. This allows the organization to like adapt to changing circumstances, and he also promotes a culture of learning. So his company Bridgewater would encourage continuous learning and development for all employees. So this will basically ensure that everyone has the skills and knowledge to succeed. And when he's discussing the nuances and challenges of decision making by like believability, like a weight consensus, his company would prioritize ideas over personalities. So it's not about who has the most seniority, it's the best idea wins. So he discusses 3 points, so believability weighted, challenging assumptions, and the challenge of ego. So believability weighted is the credibility of the idea and the person presenting it are both considered. Someone with a track record of sound judgment may have more weight in their suggestions. And challenging assumptions discusses where ideas are openly debated and challenged to ensure they are well founded and address the problem effectively. And the challenge of ego is the approach for those with inflated egos who struggle to accept criticism of their ideas. And then this piggybacks onto emotional objectivity, so striving for rationality. This basically means that emotions can cloud your judgment. And here's how Bridgewater would aim to how it aims for emotional objectivity. So what they do is they have 3 points again. So the company focuses on facts and data, acknowledges emotions and importance of emotional intelligence. Where the first point focuses on facts and data, these decisions are made based on logic and reason, not personal feelings or emotional biases. When they acknowledge the emotions, they they basically saying that the emotions aren't ignored, but they are acknowledged and separated from the decision making process. And the importance of emotional intelligence discusses while emotions are acknowledged, emotional intelligence is crucial for navigating interpersonal dynamics and fostering a positive work environment. And then putting principles into practice, he kind of gives like an insight into his company. So part three, like would it basically dwells into the specific practices that Bridgewater utilizes to implement these principles. Like they have 360-degree feedback, so employees regularly receive feedback from colleagues, superiors, and even subordinates, which provides a well-rounded perspective on performance. Um, they have peer review meetings, so employees openly discuss like each other's work and performance. This fosters collaboration and helps identify areas for improvement, and radical transparency tools where Bridgewater utilizes various tools and platforms to facilitate open communication, information sharing. And adapting these principles for your workplace is, while some of the Bridgewater's practices may seem extreme, the underlying principles can be applied to various work environments. So this would focus on core principles, finding the right balance and the power of incremental change. So the core principles of honest communication, psychological safety and continuous learning can be implemented in any workplace. Finding the right balance can adapt Dalio's ideas to fit your company culture and size. And what works for Bridgewater may not be the perfect fit for every organisation. And the power of incremental change suggests starting small by introducing practices of that encourage open communication, honest feedback, and basically gradually build a more positive and productive work environment. So yeah, this part three then, this section offers like valuable insights for leaders and employees alike by embracing these principles. And Dalio believes organizations can create a productivity and initiative and innovativity. So he talks about then at the end of this book how to apply principles in everyday life. So he takes this philosophy like beyond the boardroom and delves into how you can apply it to various aspects of your daily life. And a detailed breakdown of like what goes beyond the surface level explores the nuances of this approach. So yeah, he kind of just summarizes like from work to life, putting principles into action, building strong relationships beyond techniques. He discusses that it's not about winning, like focus on the underlying issue, don't just address surface level disagreements, dig deeper to understand the root causes of the conflict. He discusses how compromise and collaboration, like be willing to compromise and find solutions that work for everybody. Like remember that the goal isn't to win the argument but to find a mutually beneficial outcome. And achieving these personal goals, he discusses the power of planning. So he talks about the 5-step process that discussed in introduced in part 2. He discusses the importance of specificity. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why my mouth wasn't working today. Probably because I've been talking for the last 18 and a half minutes. But yeah, that's basically like, define your desired outcomes and set SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time bound to increase your chances of success, and to continuously like always be on a path of learning, like never reach destination, always be on the journey. And he discussed like the importance of happiness beyond success. So he's on about building strong relationships, making a positive impact and focusing on personal growth. And he also kind of rounds off then saying, if you want a way to improve your relationships, achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life, it's a practical guide. So by incorporating his principles into your daily habits, you can take charge of your own happiness and success. And yeah, I think that is basically the book. I think if I talk anymore, I'm just going to be rambling on. But no, I definitely would recommend this book. Like, there's a few questions to consider, like, what are some of the core values that you want to guide your life? Like, how can you start incorporating practices of reflection and refinement into your own life to ensure your principles remain relevant and effective? Like, in what ways can you leverage your own experiences and knowledge to inspire and guide others on their own journeys? And yeah, by reflecting like on these questions, you can gain a deep understanding of like the book, the challenges that take ownership of kind of like your situation, and live according to a set of guided principles that lead you towards success, fulfillment, and a positive impact on the world. Overall, the book offers a kind of unique and thought-provoking perspective on achieving success in both your personal and professional life. Like, while some of these aspects of his philosophy may seem rigid, like the core principles offer valuable insights for anyone seeking to improve their decision making. It builds stronger relationships and to achieve their goals. But the only thing I will say with this book is that this cost me like €35, so it's not a cheap book. Like, this book is a lot of lessons in it, and I think even talking for the last 20 minutes, I didn't even cover, I didn't even scratch the surface of this book. I kind of got through like the main points, but I think to get to the full detail, I think you need to read it or listen to it on an audiobook. But yeah, I will end it there because I don't want to kind of go off a tangent and waste more minutes. But yeah, if you have any other suggestions, please let me know. Um, Otherwise I'm just going to pick a random book that's on my bookshelf. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you do buy the book or at least listen to it or give it a go. And if you do read it, let me know what you think, and I can get back to you on my thoughts or feedback on what you think of it. All right, thank you very much, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.